I don't know who you are, and I don't know how you did this. In a matter of hours, the entire village was handed over to you.
I want to welcome you back again for another story answering the question, is God active? Today, I'm here with Julie McPherson, and she has a story that we're going to get to hear.
A few years back, I wanted to do a work for the Lord, and I had 3 points that I wanted to. There are 3 things that were on my heart. I wanted to reach out to the youth of our church, to give them a purpose and a meaning. I wanted to be able to fulfill my own need to be able to work for the Lord. And I also wanted to reach out to the First Nation communities in any way that I possibly could with the love of Jesus. And I didn't know how to do that. And the Lord put it on my heart, though, and He wouldn't let me drop it. And so I began to ask the Lord to give me a way to do this. So we managed to raise some money for our project, and we decided we would go to the northern communities of BC. We chose Dease Lake as our first point. Dease Lake is a really small community on Highway 37, and if you're just driving by and you blink, you'll miss it. But back in the trees where you don't see it, there's all the community in there, and the post office and the school, and everything is behind all the trees. So I didn't really realize how big that community was. And we went there. I got there first before my team got there. When I got there, it was dark, it was night, and it was smoky because there's a village behind Dease Lake that had burned to the ground, and all the people coming out of Telegraph Creek was that village, were coming out, and they needed help. They needed donations, they needed clothes, they needed blankets, they needed dog food, they needed diapers, they needed everything. Yeah. And they had nothing left.
Yeah.
And so they were coming out. We had heard about the fire, and here we were. But I didn't know how we would be received.
Yeah.
So we went, I spent all that night, since I was alone with just my dog, and I walked up and down the highway all night long. Lord, I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know what. But I kept praying the prayer of Jabez in the Bible. Lord, expand my territory. Give this little village to me so that I could demonstrate your love here. And I don't know how to do it. That's my quandary. And so all night long, the sun rose, my team showed up of young people. And the first thing we did is we went to the little health center when it opened. And I said, we've heard there's a fire and we're wondering if we can help. And the lady in there looked at me and she said, where have you been? We've been waiting for you.
Wow.
And I was just like, what? Really? She goes, you have no idea. She says, just a minute. And she went to the back and she got a key and she handed it to me. She said, there's an old abandoned building on the side of the highway. If you will go there, unlock it, and clean it, then she says, let me show you where the school is. She brought me to the elementary school, and in the gym, it was loaded with donations that had already come in, with clothes and water bottles and all the stuff I just mentioned. And she said, it needs to be moved out of the school and into the donation center that you're going to make.
Okay.
And she said, we need the school. School's going to start, so we have to do this. And then she had somebody bring me behind the post office where they had a whole bunch of shelves stacked up on the ground. And she said, here's some shelves, and brought me somewhere else in the village. There's some shelves, and here's how to put them together. And in every nook and cranny I went through this village, they showed me different things that I could use and do. And they said, whatever you need, you've got it.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, wow, that's wonderful. But how do I do this? Like, I had no truck. I came in a little van, was loaded with everybody's gear, and then there was another van with everybody's gear. All we had. But there was a team of men that had come from all over Canada who had come to sift the ashes in Telegraph Creek And they were waiting in this little village called Dease Lake to be allowed to go in. But they had been waiting for quite a while and they were bored. So I approached these men. They all had trucks, and I said, can we use you and your trucks to gather all this stuff? And I brought them to the school, and I brought them to where they needed to go to get the shelves. And I said, and you take a team of my young people and show them how to put the shelves together, and you go get all the water and everything that we need to put in the donation center. And as the kids are unloading the trucks, all the young people are unloading the trucks into the donation center, they're singing songs about Jesus.
Okay.
It was an amazing experience. It took us about 10 days, but one of the men that had come in to sift the ashes, he came up to me at the end of it all. And with tears in his eyes, he said, I don't know who you are, and I don't know how you did this. But he said, you came into this community, nobody knew who you were or where you came from, with a load of singing young people. And he said, in a matter of hours, the entire village was handed over to you. Not only that, they came to us and said, would you do vacation Bible school for our children?
Wow.
And so during this 10 days, we also did vacation Bible school. They gave us the community hall for free.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And this man who was crying, he says, I don't know how you did it. How did you do that? And I said, I can tell you, I didn't do anything. It was God who did it. I spent all night walking up and down this highway, praying that God would give this village for Jesus.
Wow.
And that's what he did.
Wow. That's an amazing story, Julie.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. The text in the Bible comes out of 1 Chronicles, chapter 5. And this is actually part of the prayer of Jabez. And it says, there was a man named Jabez who was more honorable than any of his brothers, and his mother named him Jabez because his birth had been so painful. Verse 10, he was the one who prayed to God of Israel, oh, that you would bless me and expand my territory. Please be with me in all that I do and keep me from all the trouble and pain. Now, as you heard Julie's story about how she was just walking up and down that road all through the night, praying, God, just expand this territory. Like, what do you want to do here? You may have something that God's put on your heart and you're saying, God, how do I do this? I don't know what that might be. But go to Chronicles chapter 5 and pray over the prayer of Jabez. Saying, God, expand it for your name's sake. And like Julie, you'll be able to sit back, potentially watch all the different ways that God can expand your territory. And then join us next week as we continue answering the question, is God active? Thanks for watching today. If this episode has helped you see God in a new view, and you're wondering where to start, I want to suggest reading Matthew chapter 5, 6, and 7. These 3 chapters will transform your life. And if they do, please share it with a friend and know that we are praying for you.